All right, everybody, how we doing? How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? Philly correctly pointing out, I don't think he's late unless it's 4:31. Yeah, it's you know the drill, Philly. All right, this was a fucking awesome chapter. All right, let me just give a let me message my editor real quick. I gotta let him know. I just recorded the chapter review for this, so I gotta tell him what the title and all that shit is gonna be. This chapter is this is fucking sick. I don't even know what to say. You know what the worst part about this chapter is? There's only one flaw with this chapter, which is that now we have to wait 2 weeks for the next one. It's fucked up to just do this. Like that's fucked up. Uh, uh, hold on. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Who's the thumbnail of this one gonna be? I think thumbnail, we're gonna make Garp. I think Garp as the thumbnail makes sense. I think Garp was the showstopper here, right? Uchek, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 35 months. My God, what a chapter. This is on another level. This is insane. This is just fucking insane. This is like some fan fiction. You know, this is some fan fiction. Empty Mind, thanks for the 5. I seriously don't understand why Oda drew them trampling Roger. Every redraw looks worse, and the God Valley Holy Knights are very disappointing design-wise. I like their designs. Whoa. I thought the moment I literally just said in my chapter review, Roger being trampled was my second favorite moment of the chapter. I think it's funny. Wait, you don't like the God's Knights design? What's wrong with the God's Knights design? They're an eclectic bunch. They're a fun, eclectic bunch. I think, let me take another peek at these guys. So we got the Rocks Pirates. We got Roger Pirates. I think these designs are cool. You got Garp. Part of it is we've already seen several of these designs, right? So we've already seen Gunkko, Sommers, Garling, right? And then Lady killing him. We've already seen killing him, so that doesn't seem that new. But if this was the first time we're seeing, I think we'd think it's a cool design. And then the goat head dude or whatever the fuck that is, that guy's like we've already seen that guy as well. Like some of these designs we've already seen, but I think if we saw this squad roll up, I think it's a bunch of pretty cool designs. Also, keep in mind, Oda's not gonna blow his load for all the best god. Like people were hyped when we saw Killingham's design the first time, right? So like, what's the problem with the woman's design? You know, I think we all thought Killingham's design was one of Oda's best, low key. It might just be like frequency now, repetition, right? So we've seen some of these designs many a time or variations. And keep in mind, Oda's not going to blow his load with all the God's Knights designs here, because this is the old batch of God's Knights, right? Like, a lot of these characters are probably dead at this point, you know? Like, at least Lady Killingham gets replaced by Killingham, right? I imagine the black-haired girl might be aged out. Sommers is still in it, you know, but he's that giant monster-looking dude. He might be aged out. We might see a younger version. The monster-looking dude makes no sense. No, the monster-looking dude might be in a Zoan form. I imagine it's a God's Knight in a Zoan form right now. But yeah, the modern-day God's Knights are going to look different. Let's get stream likes up to 100 real quick. Meek, thanks for the 5. Hey, sorry for the late chapter. Scans were really slow this week. Hope you enjoyed. Did you read the most recent version of the translation? We made 2 changes. I don't know. What are the changes you made? I only need one thing confirmed for me. Is Gunkko the one they're referring to when they say that there's only one God Steel? Is Gunkko the one they're referring to? Or is it Garling? Can someone tell me? Because I feel like that'll give us like a idea as to whether or not Emu has already been, like, Emu regularly possesses Gunkko or not. Ramban says Meteor Fist. Meteor Fist was my favorite. The two changes were the tense of Dragon's inner dialogue and clarification on God's steel blade by changing wording. Yes, it's Gunkko. It's confirmed Gunkko? Okay. I think I'm looking at the latest chapter, so I imagine it's all good. Philly, thanks for being a Pirate King to your member for 21 months. Celestial Dragons clearly shooting multiple kids in this chapter was insane. Day one Dragon lover here, and I feel vindicated for not giving into the hate over the years. The thing about Dragon, though, is like, it's just like, whatever his plan is, it's got to be really fucking good, you know? I mean, he's doing it right now, obviously, but, he's doing the plan right now, and it seems like it's effective. So maybe it's a really fucking good plan. But it's just, how do I say this? The reason, you gotta understand, like, for the record, I've been defending Dragon for a while. Everybody knows I put out the Dragon video way back when people were shitting on Dragon for Ginny. I've been on the Dragon train for a while, right? That doesn't mean that I just suck the character off like it's perfect, okay? Because my only thing with Dragon is that, like, why is your squad so shitty? Why is it filled with bums? Like, that's my only thing, which is, like, you had 30 years, and the best dude that you could recruit was fucking the bum emperor Sabo? That's the best that Dragon's got. Like, his absolute best person in his revolutionary army is a dude that can't even take an admiral. Like, isn't that fucking insane? That's all I'm saying. Like, I just don't get the vision from Dragon's part, because his plan must be really good. Like, that's all I'm saying. Like, his plan must be fucking genius. I hope it fucking avoids as much open conflict as possible, because, like, how are you gonna beat the world government if your best soldier can't even beat one admiral, and there's fucking 3 admirals and a fleet admiral and then a shit ton of God's Knights and then the Gorosei and then Emu? Let's say he doesn't know about the Gorosei and Emu being a problem. That's fine. He still knows about the God's Knights, right? That's what he talked about in the first place. And he knows that the world government has, like, it's got 3 admirals, a fleet admiral. From Dragon's perspective, in the past, they had, like, fucking shit ton of Shichibukai. And out of, like, 30 years of recruiting, he didn't find anybody that can actually fight those guys. He's got nobody. It's a bunch of bums. It's like, well, I got Sabo, and then after that, we got Ivankov, who lost to Magellan. It's like, that's my only thing with Dragon, which is that the plan, I think, like, the heart and the drive and conviction. I just dropped a whole video gassing Dragon up and everything, right? My issue with him is not the heart or the conviction or any of that, right? Even the, like, leaving behind Ginny and stuff, that doesn't matter. That's, like, good on you, you know? Like, you're trying to do something greater cause, yada yada. Every fallen soldier is not, like, worth throwing everything up in the air for. My main thing is, like, this is all you drafted? Like, what's going through your head, man? That's my main thing with Dragon. It's not the heart or the conviction. It's, are you dumb? That's my only question. Are you dumb? Are you a dummy? Do you think that Ivankov's going to beat an admiral for you? Do you think, like, that's my only question, okay? And again, we don't know the plan yet. So Dragon might have an absolutely brilliant plan that solves all of this, right? Because Emu's fucking freaked out by what's going on at Marijua right now. So maybe Dragon's plan involves, like, really clever stealth ops or something like that somehow will just kill off all of the God's Knights and the and Celestial Dragons and everything. Like, that might be a doable thing, right? Maybe not open conflict, maybe not open combat. That's very possible, right? It sounds like there's something like that happening right now. But there have been other moments that do suggest that Dragon might be a little bit slow. Like that one time that a newspaper came out of, like, oh, Sabo killed King Cobra or something in cold blood. And it's like one piece of world government propaganda, and Dragon's just like, what? Did Sabo do? And, like, he's, like, seriously considering it. It's like, dude, fucking Luffy can read that paper and know that obviously that's not what Sabo would do. It's not in character. And that the world government is a fucking, like, the whole entity that Dragon's fighting, it's a propaganda machine. That's the entire concept of the world government. It's a propaganda machine. Like, that's the whole idea behind them. They're liars. That's why you're fighting against them in the first place, man. They're liars. They spin the narrative. But the moment any bit of evidence shows up that's like, wait, this says that we're the bad guys, that the Revolutionary Army are the bad guys, and that we killed people in cold blood. Shit, Are we a bunch of bad guys? Did Sabo a bad guy? Am I a bad? Like, what the fuck? Like, how are you gonna win a war against the world government? That's my main thing. Anyway, continuing on. I'm a pro Dragon in that I want Dragon to be great. And in terms of character, he is great so far. In terms of character, he's great. I just need to see if this dude has a brain or not. That's all. I want to believe he's a mastermind. I would love to believe he's a mastermind. But he's running around with Sabo the Bum as his number 2. And it's just like, you want to take down the world government? Like, it's so insane because it's like looking at the Revolutionary Army. They want to take down the world government. Emu, Celestial Dragons, Gorosei, God's Knights, Marines, all of that stuff, right? CP0. They want to take down that whole thing. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, I'm more questioning, could they beat the Whitebeard Pirates at Marine Forward? Like, could they have beaten the Beast Pirates? Like, how does that matchup go, you know? Do they beat the red-haired pirates? That's, like, to me, that's where they're more at. I don't know if they're, like, exactly world government beaters or whatever. King AP07 says, bro, Sabo's not a bum. He can't beat an admiral. He cannot beat an admiral. That's already established. He's fucking Fujitora half-assing it, literally not trying, had Sabo sweating and stressing. Sabo can't beat an admiral. So, for what Sabo's supposed to be, which is number 2 of the army that is set to destroy the entire world government and fight the entire world government, by that standard, Sabo is a fucking bum. If you're basically, like, topping out at, you know, like, your best dude is below admiral level, what the fuck is the plan? The plan must be really brilliant. So basically where we're at right now is either Dragon's really dumb or he's so fucking smart. Because even with this ragtag group of, like, nothings, he's concocted a way to, like, seriously almost take down the world government. In that case, he's a fucking genius, right? So that's where we're at, like, a crossroads for Dragon as a character. Either he's the world's dumbest planner or he's the most genius mastermind in One Piece history. That's where we're at. All right, continuing on. Con Dogster, thanks for bringing Yonko to your member for 2 months. Roger stocks in the mud. Hype to see what Oda's got planned, though. I think the more Roger stocks are in the mud, the more that indicates, like right now, the more that indicates that Roger's going to get something good later down the line. So I thought it's funny. I think Oda knows what he's doing with Roger. Roger is likely Oda's probably like top 3, 4, 5 favorite characters in the story. Like, it's just, that's the Pirate King. Oda gassed him up to no end. Oda loves this dude. I think Oda finds Roger really funny. Roger's going to get a big moment by the end of all this. Titanium Dragon, thanks for the 5. This better put an end to Garp slander because the first thing he did when he showed up was help Marines, which includes his own son. I don't think that's going to end slander because the Marines were... what were the Marines doing? They were rounding up... they were rounding up innocent citizens so that they could be slaughtered. So, I don't think it's going to end the Garp slander. The one redeeming quality for Garp right now, above all else, is that he's just badass as fuck. It's just like, how can you hate this guy? It's like, that guy, I just think it's so cool that Oda spent this whole chapter, like, establishing, like, crazy hype squad number 1. Like, look at this all-star team, the Rocks Pirates. And then this all-star team, Roger Pirates, right? And then this all-star team, the whole God's Knights for Garling and the God's Knights. And then in corner number 4, you got just Garp. It's just Garp. It's just Garp. And he comes in with as much impact, if not more impact, than any of the rest of them. That's such a fucking boss move. Like, it's just like, we got the Avengers, and the Justice League, and the X-Men. And then over here, we just got fucking, what's a good example? One Punch Man. And then over there, we got One Punch Man just flying in solo. Like, I think that's so fucking sick. Yo, don't forget Bogard. Bogard is with him. What is... The Bogard fandom will never be explained. It will never be explained. All right, continuing on. How strong do you guys think Bogard is? It's just... Oda's not even... Whatever. All right. Fading Phase, thanks for being a Pirate King to your member for 6 months. 6 months. What a chapter. God Valley has truly made me fall back in love with Dragon's character. No matter what, he's the true MVP. Yeah, Dragon, phenomenal character. Just might be... Here's the other reason that all I'll say. Here's the other, because people are like, no, Dragon's a mastermind. He's a genius, right? Just wait on his plan. There's the only other thing that I'll just say about the dragon being a mastermind idea, right? Okay? Have you seen his son? Have you seen this man's genes? Have you seen his offspring? And I don't know if Luffy's just a one-off in this family tree, because you go one spot further back up the tree, and then it's like, do you see his dad? And I'm not saying Garp's dumb, but he's not like, it's not like you would call Garp to like fix a light bulb or some shit, you know? Like, it's not like we're dealing with PhD rocket scientists here, right? So, what are the to me, I'm not saying Dragon is definitely dumb, but it would be quite the miracle if it turned out that like the stupid gene just hard skipped one generation in the family tree. Because I just look at Dragon's actions, and he's like, it's just, I don't know. Some of it's questionable. It reads one thing in the newspaper, it's like, oh my god, it's us. It's the revolutionaries that are evil. How could I have been so stupid? Of course, one of my soldiers killed killed King Cobra or something like that. My god, I really have to talk to Sal about this and get to the bottom of this. There's no chance. Like, what the fuck? That's number one. That's a big ding. And then number two, it's like, Dragon, you sure you're ready to fight the entire world government? Like, all these Marines, these fucking admirals, 5,000 vice admirals, all these God's Knights and everything like that. And he's like, don't worry. In my back pocket, I got Sabo. I got Morley. I got Ivankov. And I got this little gopher dude with a hat and goggles. And I've got this girl who waves a flag. We'll be fine. We'll be okay. We can win. I'm just saying, I just don't know, like, that's my only question mark with Dragon. I would love for him to be a mastermind. I really would. I'm just saying the evidence isn't quite there. And I'm looking at the rest of his family tree, and I'm like, I don't think these guys are criminal masterminds either, personally. All right. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 2. Gunkko participated in genocide. She's irredeemable. But I think the idea behind Gunkko is that she's been brainwashed, and that there's like memories that like her true self or whatever is buried, and that only came out once she saw Brook, and then memories of her past self came flooding back. I don't think anybody's saying that the Gunkko that we've been seeing throughout Elbaf is like a good person or anything. It's just like something happened when she saw Brook, and something clicked, and she started memories of her past self started flooding in. Fading Phase says, Morge, you missed my question. I'm sorry, man. Oh, I see now. Fading Phase, thanks for bringing a Pirate King to your member for 6 months. I hope you enjoyed the Pirate King podcast that just came out. This was a long one. We had a shit ton of questions this time. What a chapter. God Valley. Oh, wait. Oh, thoughts on who's the friend Whitebeard was there to save? Oh, Shaki. I think he's just there to save Shaki. He called her his friend that he wants to save, but he doesn't mind her falling in love with him. Stride Shako, thanks for the 2. Is Dragon most wanted because he killed Celestial Dragons or because Revolutionary Army? I think because of Revolutionary Army. Snab, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 35 months. Hey, Morge, I'm soon a 3 years member. Yeah, that's crazy, man. You're 1 month away. Will you add a new badge? BTW, when will you try to read Kingdom? It's so fucking good now, like One Piece. I don't hear that much buzz about Kingdom, but I imagine that's just because it's a bit more niche. We'll add a new badge. Here, let me put that on my list of things. New badges. Because we actually had some ideas for that, but I don't know if it's based on time or if it's based on level, but it might be based on time. That's a good idea. I can do that. Polo J, thanks to the 2. Think that was Bullet from Stampede behind Roger? I saw people talking about that. I think so. Oda likes those little references. I mean, Shiki's here. I think that's Bullet. Yeah. I think that's Bullet. Philly, thanks for the 20. I don't think he wanted mostly fighters. I think he needs role players and likely knows about Nika and the prophecy and knows there's be a fighting force against the world government. Agreed he's not perfect. That would be boring in my opinion. Yeah, that's true. If he was a perfect mastermind, that would be boring. But at the same time, I don't know how much he knows about the prophecy and things like that, because there's a lot about Dragon that I think that was one of the other things, which is that we kind of realized that Dragon is less informed than we realized, because the ancient weapons were a surprise to him until Robin told him about that. So he doesn't actually know that much about history, right? And then on top of that, Emu was a total surprise to him, because the idea that there's like somebody who's the boss who's been ruling the world forever, that was a shock to them. And then it doesn't seem like he knows that much about lore-wise things. That may not be his specialty, but, let's wait and see. Let's wait and find out. Keep in mind, I'm mostly making jokes right now. I did just drop like a 20-something minute video defending Dragon. I'm making jokes. I like the character. I am very excited for the character. I don't think the Revolutionary Army are literally bums. I think they're bums in relation to what their goal is. But, you stack them up against any other Yonko crew and they look good. It's just that they're not trying to beat a Yonko crew now, are they? And obviously, Dragon's plan is working. So who am I to say any different? Dragon's plan is working. It has currently caused Emu to shit himself and actually come down in person to Elbaf, or as close to in person as you can get for Emu, and try and hurry things up. So Dragon's doing something right, that's for sure. Okay. Tev Sauce 2, thanks for the 5. I think the Revolutionaries have a lot of espionage pluses in their group. Might not need a head-to-head confrontation to defeat 95% of Celestials. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, it's interesting because Dragon even acknowledges that, the Gods Knights are the real issue. He talks about that during his meeting with Sabo, and he's like, until we will need to deal with those guys. So I'm curious what his plans are to deal with those guys. Because as is, it would have to be really, really good just tactics to overcome that. Because, Morley and Karasu are no joke, but they seem like they're basically the equivalent of, second and third commanders, The Gods Knights are pretty fucking stacked on their own. And then that's to say nothing of the Marines, etc. Maybe Dragon's banking on a revolution by the Marines. Maybe it really is more so based around that. Let's get streamlights up to 100 real quick. Straw Chaco, thanks for the 5. Stop putting Revolutionary Army 1v1 against the world government, lol. They're not supposed to go 1v1. The goal is to turn the masses against the world government and start a revolution. Yeah, but then what happens when the world government decides to fight back? Right? Because we know it. We're talking as though we don't know how things are going to go, right? We know at the end of the day, it will actually take a huge military force to take down the world government. Unless you, the things we know are that Dragon's revolution on its own is not going to succeed. Otherwise, why the fuck are we reading the story of the Strahd pirates? What the fuck are they, we know that at the end of the day, a lot of this is going to involve a big alliance, with the Strahd pirates coming in and all of their allied nations and everything coming in. We know that the Strahds are going to be a big part of why this whole thing succeeds, right? We know that there is going to be a war against the world government, right? Oda straight up spelled that out for us in chapter 577. So if the whole argument is that, Dragon's not trying to fight the world government straight up, he's banking on, a revolution by the people and espionage tactics, etc., we fucking know it's not going to work. We know that that's not, we know that if you cut out everything else in the story and just leave it to Dragon and the Revolutionaries to do their stuff, the story of One Piece is not going to resolve. So my point is that can be the idea behind the revolution, but in the context of the story of One Piece, in this fantasy universe with superpowered beings, you will ultimately need to defeat the Gods Knights, the Gorosei, Emu. Even if you say Dragon doesn't know about Emu, he knows about the others. You will need to defeat a lot of fucking Marines. That's the truth. You will need to defeat Seraphim, pacifistas. You will need to be able to win a military war against the world government. So if your argument is that Dragon's whole plan is based around inciting revolution among the masses, it's based around espionage, hit and run tactics, etc., well then it's kind of a moot point, because what are you even arguing? We know that that's not going to be an effective plan in the long run because it's not going to succeed. We know that there will need to be a war to actually beat the world government. It's not going to work any other way. So you're essentially making my case for me that if that's Dragon's plan, it's not an effective plan, right? It's not going to work. We already saw the fucking mural. Do we need to look at the mural again? Does the mural suggest that it's what does the mural suggest? It's a bunch of espionage tactics. Are the people of Drum Kingdom going to rise up and take down the world government? No, it's going to be a lot of fucking superpowered characters, mostly allies of the Strahds and shit, that are going to do this shit, So when you're saying stop putting the Revolutionary Army 1v1 against the world government, just because they don't want to fight the world government 1v1 doesn't change the fact that it will come down to a slew of 1v1s to actually beat the world government. It's not going to work like magic outside of that. You will need to beat the world government 1v1. Justin Holland, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 35 months. Dragons and the Revolutionary Army Force have their role to play in the shadows, while Luffy and the Straw Hat Force will have theirs, which is more in the open, and the Summit War was a foreshadowed alliance in the final war soon. I agree there will be an alliance. I'm just saying I don't think the Dragon created his whole strategy assuming that there will be a secondary alliance of the Straw Hats and a bunch of allied nations of Wano and Zou and Fishman Island, etc., all banding together to help him as well. I don't think that was ever part of Dragon's plan. I don't think Dragon's planning around his son necessarily. I don't unless Dragon saw some prophecy or something like that, I imagine that's not the case. As far as we the reader know right now, and this might turn out to be totally wrong later, as far as we the reader know right now, Dragon's plan is basically everything that he and the Revolutionary Army are doing so far, right? Which, as far as we can tell, is not going to be enough to fight really, much of the world government effectively. Anyway, continuing on, let's get stream likes up to 100 real quick. Behenor, thanks a lot. I absolutely love Gunkko's title. God's Loyal Blade is literal, and it further emphasizes Emu as God. Works really great with Emu's demon powers. Yeah. I think that's pretty hype. Tom, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 35 months. We've got a lot of people who are coming up on... probably because I began the membership stuff about 35 months ago or something. So we got a lot of people coming up on 36 months of membership, so 3 years. Thanks for the long time support, all of you. Love the chapter. I watched the VOD of your chapter 1159 discussion, and people defending Kaido on murder and slavery is wild, LMAO. Thanks for the content. Yeah, that was crazy. I remember there was one comment that was just like, well, he's only enslaved one nation. It's like, how many more... what does that even mean? How many more nations does he need to enslave? Elijah Petty, thanks for the 2. There might be a temporary Roger/Rocks duo. That was the crazy thing, because I put out that last video, and the majority of the comments got it. But there were some comments that were just straight up missing the point, or arguing that pirates don't actually kill that many people, which is fucking insane, because the entire story is of pirates fucking kill. You can get through East Blue, just the first fucking 100 chapters, just the prologue, and you're like, oh yeah, pirates are a real fucking problem, and they fuck up a lot of shit. And pretty much all islands are fucking suffering from pirates. Just offhand, we're told over... I think people confuse the fact that, the Straw Hats are usually able to save islands from pirates basically demolishing them and killing everybody in them. I think it's a couple things. It's we don't see the Marines save people that often. It's but that's because we're following the Straw Hat Pirates. So the story doesn't really fucking work if we get to an island and it's oh my god, the Black Cat Pirates are attacking and they're going to kill everyone here. Oh wait, the Marines showed up and solved it, so we actually don't need to see the Straw Hats fight. The story doesn't fucking work if we're going to the islands where the Marines don't end up saving the day. But in all other islands, the whole Celestial Dragon system only works. It's literally explained in chapter 904, in chapter 909, the islands that get overrun by pirates are the islands that the Marines don't protect. Now, the problem is that it's a protection racket, in that the Marines extract celestial gold from people in order to offer their protection. But the protection, obviously, is saving people's lives at the end of the day, right? Otherwise, islands fall into, they become war-torn islands where people are orphans, people are killed, etc. The whole story only works if you understand that basic concept that pirates are ravaging all these islands. The reason people like Whitebeard grow up as orphans is because pirates ravage their island. Marco explains this very, very in depth, the way the whole thing works, right? Most islands, everybody there is killed by pirates, right? World government offers money to people to protect them from pirate attacks. So that's how the world government stays in power, by basically saying, well, we'll keep you safe, and people want to stay safe, and so they pay the Marines to keep them safe. Money goes to the world government, yada, yada. If you can't pay, Marines leave you, and then that's the real problem, because then pirates go and kill everybody there. That's established very, very, very clearly in the story. Most people in the world right now are dying from pirates. The extra bad part is that the world government, while it does protect most people underneath the nation, nation state, whatever, blah, 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 it does its own deal of killing on the sly, on the down low as well. And that's where we see things like the Celestial Dragon hunting competitions. That's where we see stuff like Ohara. But those are nowhere near as frequent as pirate attacks. If they were as frequent, then the whole system doesn't fucking work. Because the system only works because they're able to extort protection out of people, extort money out of people for protection from being killed by pirates. So we keep you safe in order to save your lives. You know, if they go around killing every single island, like people seem to think the world government does, then none of this makes any fucking sense. Again, the system is explained very, very blatantly and clearly. It's just like people seem to miss that part. And it's just like if you go through One Piece, how many arcs are about the Straw Hats saving people from pirates? It's pretty much all of them. And how many arcs are about the Straw Hats having to fight the Marines? Pretty much none of them, outside of fucking like Axehand Morgan's arc, right? So I think there's just a disconnect there. Axehand Morgan's arc, yeah. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 2. There might be a temporary Roger and Rox duo. Yeah, I think so as well. That's become a pretty common idea. And I talk about that in depth in this coming Tuesday's video, so I don't want to share too much here. Behanort, thanks a lot. I think I might be the biggest God's Knights hype man, mostly because I want them to be great main villains, so I love what Oda is doing with them, present and past. Yeah, I agree. Smile says Egghead and Enies Lobby. Yeah, you're right. Egghead, Enies Lobby, obviously Axehand Morgan, and then you can count Marineford as well, right? So there are several arcs, obviously, of the world government really being the villains, but usually it's like the world government that's the villains, and then the Marines are being sent to do their job, right? That's not to say Marines are good or bad. It's just that it's a mixed slew of characters. A lot of them fucking, like, the prominent Marines of Enies Lobby, like, the main one that they fought was, like, Shipcutter T-Bone, and he was not a bad guy. CP9, who were the world government's direct, were really bad guys. And then you've got, like, Aokiji, who's, like, a morally great character introduced in Enies Lobby, but Akainu, who's like the worst of the world government. And then you got Garp, who's introduced as a good character. You got Kobe and Helmut Poe introduced at the end of Enies Lobby. Like, Oda's rarely trying to paint the Marines as black and white. They're supposed to be a more morally gray group, but I think people just want to think of things in more simpler terms. And instead of engaging with the ideas that Oda's actually trying to present, they're just like, every Marine is a bad character because I don't understand the concepts that are being presented to me in the story. It's just easier to not think, you know? Continuing on. Zolden, thanks for the 5. Dragon shooting Celestial Dragon almost like it was a natural reaction to protect was my favorite part of the chapter. Goated character. Yeah, Dragon is shaping up to be a phenomenal character. Bassam El Madawi, thanks for the 5. Hey Morge, the way it's going, I feel like Roger will learn about Rox after Rox loses. Then we'll see a moment where he's super angry like Luffy. As long as Roger's not the person to put down Rox, because Roger's legitimately salty about Rox and Shaki, I think I'll be okay with it. And I do hope that this leads to some greater emotional range out of Roger than just being like kind of a little kid, you know? Continuing on. Let's get the Streamlights up to 100 real quick. Let's get the Streamlights up to 100. Raven Hill, thanks for the 10. I had a theory that Rox was going to God Valley because his wife and child were kidnapped by the government because they knew they were his kids and wanted him dead. Not that far off. Oh, that's a really good theory. That's spot on, genuinely. Genuinely spot on. Ajay, thanks for the 2. Fuck Garp, could have stayed home. No one made him come. Yeah. That's the thing. What Garp is doing here is genuinely pretty fucked. Like, I need to see Garp's reactions. This is a big thing, right? Because last video, I did a lot of defending of Garp. People were literally saying, like, last video, Morge, you're putting out, like, world government propaganda, etc. It's like, no, I literally explained that even if you are a good Marine, you're still morally flawed. I make that very, very clear. I just don't think, like, you're pure evil if you're, like, somebody like Garp or Kobe or Smoker or whatever, right? Or Fujitora, right? I made it very clear. I think they're still morally flawed, but they're not, like, just straight up evil, right? But so far, we've been able to separate a lot of Garp's actions from the Celestial Dragons because Garp makes clear that he serves the people. He actively ignores orders and stuff like that when it comes to the Celestial Dragons. He wasn't going to go to God Valley. You got to remember, Garp was not going to go to God Valley until he found out Roger was there. So Garp is not a Celestial Dragon shill in that sense. However, if he arrives at God Valley, right, he got his cool entrance. If he is arriving at God Valley, seeing what's happening, observing what's happening, and still fights against the Rocks Pirates, Roger Pirates, if he's still basically like continuing the exact trajectory that we imagine he's going to continue on, which is like fighting alongside the Marines to basically help the Celestial Dragons continue their fucking hunting competition, then I think Garp is just straight up irredeemable. Then I think Oda's just written like a crazy shitty character that Oda maybe doesn't realize is no longer morally flawed, but is just straight up a piece of shit, right? So we need to see that. There's a couple ways that Oda could go about this, right? There's so many possibilities for the way God Valley could play out. I'm still of the opinion that Emu is going to make an appearance and that will be the true problem at God Valley. But looking at Garp, right? Either Garp is so obsessed with Roger that he just flies in, attacks Roger, doesn't really try and process everything else that's happening at God Valley. Like, what is the deal with this whole, like, what is the real issue here? Maybe Garp's just so Roger obsessed that it's just he and Roger fighting, and there's no processing on Garp's end. Okay, then you can say, to some degree, ignorance is bliss, although then you question how much did Garp actually know about the Celestial Dragon hunting competition details, right? Because if you want to give Garp like a hard pass, you could say, from what we know, Garp tends to ignore stuff from that. He doesn't follow Celestial Dragon stuff. He basically ignores that, right? If Celestial Dragons tell him to do something, he ignores it. I imagine the hunting competitions are involve the Celestial Dragons hiring out Marines who they know will stay pretty quiet, or all the dragons there. The dragon's a new recruit. Celestial Dragons, I imagine the hunting competitions, like, it could be something that Garp doesn't know about, because even if the Celestial Dragons ask him, like, hey, we need you for, like, a personal, personal security protection thing, Garp's like, no, fuck off, I'm not doing that. So it's possible he just doesn't know. Like, keep in mind, Whitebeard even said that he thought that the Celestial Dragon hunting competitions are a baseless rumor. It's not like everybody is aware of Celestial Dragon hunting competitions. It's not common knowledge, right? And if in the Marines, Garp basically ignores anything to do with Celestial Dragons and focuses only on missions that he wants to do, it's possible that he doesn't know the details, right? The hunt already ended when the rocks arrived. The hunt ended. This is going to be frustrating then. This is going to be very frustrating. Because at the very least, Garp knows that the Celestial Dragons are bad. That's why he ignores their orders, right? So he knows they're bad. If he knows they're bad, I mean, bad's an understatement here, then I'm just really curious as to what his actions are justification. Like, he says he's coming in here to save the Marines. How does he act when he's around slaves that are also going to be in the crossfire? That's what I want to know. Okay. Garp called it a field trip. I want to read 1096 again. Well, you know what? Let's just wait and see. There's no point pouring through all of Garp's thoughts just to speculate. Or bits of dialogue to speculate. Let's see how he actually acts in this scene. Because for all the hype that Oda gave him in his entrance and everything like that, it's not going to excuse his actions if it's really Celestial Dragon bootlicking. JP, thanks for the 5. Ivankov's position is Grand Line Commander. Don't think Karasu scales above him or Kuma or Sabo. I don't know how the Celestial Dragon or how the Revolutionary Army's like commander system works, but the thing that does seem clear to me is that none of them are above commander level, and then that's an issue because you're trying to fight a lot of characters that are admiral level plus, so it just doesn't work, right? The math doesn't math out, does it? Marco Saint, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 27 months. Prediction, Rox will be tricked into thinking Teach was killed by Garling, and he'll try to kill Twins in retaliation. This is why Roger will stop Rox. Rox will be tricked into thinking Teach was killed by Garling, and he'll try to kill Twins. Whoa. That's a harsh prediction. I can't say it's out of the realm of possibility. It might actually be the case. That would be really sad, because I love Rox as a character. I don't think Rox would do that. It'd also be wild that Roger would step in to stop that specifically, when it's like, what about all of the murdering that the fucking Celestial Dragons are doing, you know? But it's possible. I don't know. JP, thanks for the 5. Gunkko must be one of Oda's favorite characters. Only seen Straw Hats and Law get more outfit designs than her. I think that Gunkko is a character that's being saved up for just everything about her, right? Her role in the story is very important as being this character from like 90-something years ago, right? So Brooks' era that is being brought back now into the modern day story as the one God's Knight who has this sort of checkered past that's being uncovered, right? So she's the God's Knight that's going to be like the central focus, it seems like, of the Elbaf arc. And she's the one that Emu can possess and everything. So it's just like... And I truly believe that the Emu-possessed Gunkko is not going to be defeated by straight up like combat or anything. Here's my predictions, okay? My predictions right now, vaguely, are we will see Emu at God Valley possessing Gunkko. This will give a clear point of comparison because we will get to see the old legends go up against Emu-possessed Gunkko. And then we'll get to flashback to the present and see, Luffy, the Straw Hats, Loki go up against Emu-possessed Gunkko. We will get some idea of, like, the scaling, right? Obviously, scaling is not the only important thing, but it does help us understand level of threat. Like, getting to see Emu-possessed Gunkko up against, like, the greatest, strongest fighters of all time helps us understand the scale of opponent that Luffy's facing now in the modern day, which is going to be way above Kaido, the Gorosei, etc., right? So I think it's useful for that. But also, I think that leads me to believe that Luffy's not going to beat Emu straight up in the modern day, at least in the Elbaf arc. I think Brook's music will be the key to sending Emu back, because it will awaken Gunko's own self, which will drive Emu out. And I think that might be why Oda went with the possession route by Emu for this angle of, like, how does Emu fight when he comes down from Marijua? He possesses somebody rather than come down himself, because it provides a route to send Emu back without actually having to defeat him. A similar logic applies to, like, the Gorosei, right? Oda didn't want the Gorosei to be defeated straight up at Egghead. It was too early, and so the Haki Knot did it for them, you know? King J, thanks a lot. There can only be one God's Blade in the Holy Knights. Garling being called God's Sword was cool, so he might be Emu's strongest weapon. Shit, so, like... I'm confused now. I'm confused. I thought I was told that Gunkko was God's Blade. I thought Meek confirmed that. Rihanna Zara, thanks for the 5. As a big Garp fan, God Valley has been horrible for the agenda. Literally watching a slaughter, and he only cares about Roger, Dragon the Goat. Yeah. Look, it's big if you're a Garp. If you are a Garp fan who's been arguing that Garp is, like, really strong, like equal to Roger and Whitebeard or whatever for a long time, then God Valley, this whole flashback has been great for you so far. Because Garp has looked like, he looks like the big dog out there. Like, he looks like the, yeah, just like the showstopper, you know? Like, I still think it's fucking insane that Oda set this up, like, squad, and then just fucking Garp showing up as, like, the big finale. And they're all shitting themselves looking at him. And, like, people are trying to talk about Bogart and shit. No, like, Oda's literally presenting it to you guys. Like, he's not trying to say, oh, it's Garp and the Marines, right? It's literally, like, he's very clear. The title cards are the Rocks Pirates. So it's all the Rocks Pirates lined up. Then it's the Roger Pirates. So it's all the Roger Pirates charging in. Then it's the God's Knights, right? All the God's Knights together. And then it's just Garp's fleet. right? Like, it's... No, I guess it's the same thing. I don't know what I'm trying to spin here. It's just Garp's fleet. I was trying to make a point that it doesn't say the Marines or anything like that, but it is technically, it's a fleet. It's Garp's fleet. I just don't think Bagard's doing jack shit against anybody, personally. I don't think... Because I don't think Bagard's like admiral level or anything like that, which means that he's basically just like at best some commander level type character at best, and he's never done anything, so I don't know. But still, Garp just showing up at the end, and it's really just Garp that seems like to be the main figure here. I think that's pretty sick. But it doesn't, this flashback is not good for Garp if you want Garp to be a good person, because so far he has not appeared to be that. Bane, thanks for the 5. What if Rox passed world secrets to Roger at God Valley? Roger post God Valley cares about poneglyphs and stuff, almost like a will inherited from Rox. So I do actually think that that's a solid possibility, and I talk about that in next week's video. Urgert, thanks for the 2. Garp stays with the government after God Valley. I need him to explain. Here's my only thing I can say about Garp that might be the saving grace, okay? I personally think the same way that we just talked about how I think Roger's motivations may have changed after God Valley and turned him into the person he is today. What if after God Valley, big what if after God Valley, Garp starts Sword? Was Sword established to be a thing way back then? What if Garp was the person who started Sword? I think that would redeem Garp in my eyes. Because it's like, if you're a Marine who experiences everything at God Valley, the only two things, like, you see everything that's happening at God Valley, right? And then you don't want to rebel. The only thing that can redeem you is you become very committed to trying to change the system from the inside, right? Because, and I know people complain, like, why try to change the system from the inside, yada, yada. The reality is you can't overthrow the world government, right? Like, that's probably another thing that's... I tried to stress that a lot in last week's video, in this Tuesday's video, but people didn't seem to get it for some reason. It's like, you can't feasibly overthrow the world government. We are literally going to watch Dragon spend the rest of his life trying to build a force to overthrow the world government, and it's not going to work. At least not on its own. As I explained in the video, it's a million other things that also are going to fall into place, like Luffy and the Strahds showing up, the red-haired pirates deciding to show up, the Blackbeard pirates also popping up, like a bunch of different rebel forces and a bunch of different allies, and the ancient weapons becoming available, like Shirahoshi awakening and shit, and Momonosuke appearing in the present to command Zunisha and open the borders, etc. It's like a million different factors that are going to come together. It's not just Dragon's plan. You can't feasibly create... Like, just look at every other character in One Piece, right? Like, Whitebeard spent his life trying to build a fleet. That fleet had no hope of... It wasn't a fleet directed to fight the world government, but it's representative of the concept that no one person can build a force strong enough that could ever fight the world government on its own. That's an important idea of One Piece, right? So I don't blame Garp for just being like, okay, the world government's the problem. I'm going to now dedicate my life to trying to overthrow the world government, because it's literally not possible. Like, it's literally, like, it would be throwing away his life, right? Without actually being able to take down the world government. He would be a blip in history over time, right? If Garp from here on is like, I'm going to try and create Sword so that the thing can, like, the whole system can change from the inside, that is a more impactful choice, because he can still go about saving civilians while working towards restructuring how the Marines might work and hopefully leading to an actual revolution from within that could work. Because if you can get all the Marines to change and shift sides, that's enough to shake the world government's hold. If you want to, like, go at them from the outside, you're going to lose. It's been illustrated very clearly. Tornado says Rox could have if Harold helped. I mean, so there's a possibility that Rox could have if Harold helped, right? There's a possibility. Eric says the story rewards those that take action more. Yeah, because it's a fictional story. I'm saying, like, real, like, Garp doesn't know that he's fucking a character being written by an author. You're talking about it from a moral point of view. This is all addressed in the video as well, which is you're talking about moral principle versus reality. Yes, One Piece is a magical fairy tale story where just being a good person will ultimately reward you in the long run, right? But in actuality, like, Garp doesn't know that all of destiny is gonna collide across 800 years, like 38 years from now, to magically make the stars align, to have like a million different factors come together that makes the world government revolution actually possible. It's just anybody in the Marines knows that you can't actually fight the Marines. You can't fight the Marines and the world government, etc., and win. So if Garp tries to change them from the inside, I'd view that as redeemable. I think that that's redeemable. That's my only thought. But we need more understanding of how much Garp knows. And Tornado saying Rox could have if Harold helped. Rox thought he could if Harold helped. And with Rox's force that he had assembled, I do think there's a solid shot. That's why I said on stream before, or like in chapter reviews before, that like Rox's force that he collected is a bigger threat to the world government than what Dragon collected. Because at the end of the day, this is a fictional story with superpowered characters. You need to be able to defeat the Gods Knights, the Gorosei, Emu, etc. in 1v1 straight combat, the Marines, yada yada, in 1v1 straight combat. That's how One Piece fucking works. In the context of One Piece, people clipped this and took this out of context. In the context of One Piece, yeah, Rox's force is a much bigger threat than fucking Sabo, Ivankov, fucking Lindbergh, and Bello Betty, and that fucking like ragtag group. It's night and day, right? It doesn't matter how many espionage tactics or secret tactics or like get countries to rise up shit that Dragon does. If you can, in the context of One Piece, if you can't win all those 1v1 matchups against the superpowered characters that rule the world, you don't have a fucking shot in hell at overthrowing the world government. That's just the way the story works. Proven by the fact that we know that's how the fucking story is going to end. Those guys are all going to lose in 1v1s, right? And it's not going to be fucking because Dragon's roster is so stacked. They will get some fights probably, but not the bulk majority. Rox could maybe do it. I agree that Rox, if he got Harold's help, etc., he could maybe do it. But on the flip side, you could argue that Rox is also representative of the fact that, like, even if you get all the strongest, like, fucking pirates and rebel figures on the ocean together, it still didn't really work out for them, right? So if anything, Rox kind of, like, hammers in the notion of how futile it kind of is to try and fight against the world government. All right, continuing on. Ron Azar, thanks for the 5. Brooks' music will awaken Gunkko from brainwashing and she will push him out, leading into an Emu lore exposition from Gunkko before the final war. That's a great idea, because I already agree with the first part, but leading into an Emu lore exposition, that's really, really interesting. I like that. Nerve AMV Maker, thanks for the 10. I feel like post-timeskip the story has been emphasizing that evil pirates are often the product of the world government system. Definitely. I feel this implicates the world government in their crimes and weakens the marine defense of the world government. I 100% agree. The Marines defending the world government, like, the world government is the source of all these issues. That's made clear in the story. That's literally, and again, in the video, people would talk about, like, how the Marines uphold the system, etc. The system is the true root cause of all problems. That's not a brilliant insight. It's literally explained in the story. Kid literally says it word for word in the auction house. I post those panels in the video for a reason. I know that the world is the way it is because of the system. I even fucking drew a diagram illustrating that the world is the way it is because of the world government system at the core of it, right? However, with the way the world is, right, the only feasible way to change it is trying to fight the world government directly or trying to change it from within, right? Both of those are like fucking near impossible. But trying to fight it directly is kind of established over and over again to be pretty much like literally impossible. Again, it will take like 800 years of destiny, million stars aligning, like several different rebel groups independently all coming together, ancient weapons reawakening, people being sent from the fucking future, etc. A million, like the One Piece being found. Like so many things will have to come together for it actually to be feasible to fight the world government, right? So when it's like, I think sometimes people just view it because it's like a fictional story. So like, it's like, well, why don't they just fight the world government or whatever? It'll be kind of like if you don't like, let's say you don't like America and the current administration, okay? You think it's really fascist, yada, yada, right? It's kind of like being like, well, you live in America. Why don't you just like start a rebellion against the United States? It's like, well, like it's fucking, I'll just die. Like, you know what I mean? Like you just die. It's like asking like a military member, like, why don't you just fucking, you don't like the current government, just leave and fucking try and lead a rebellion against it. It just doesn't, Does it make sense when you apply it to the real world? It's like, no, the establishment's too powerful. And I think the One Piece story goes like way, way out of its way to try to explain to readers over and over again that the establishment is too powerful in One Piece. But for some reason, I think readers don't process that, and they kind of just want to stick with the idea of like, well, why isn't this person just rebelling? Why isn't this person just rebelling? It's like, it's fucking hard. Like, you just die. Most people die. You know? Most people die. Like, it's not doable. Like, Whitebeard, the world's strongest man or whatever, and the world's strongest pirate crew, they tried to do it, and they couldn't even get past, like, level 1, which is just the Marines. They didn't even get to the fucking Celestial Dragons, the God's Knights, the Gorosei, Emu, yada yada, you know? I feel like Marines who are trying to do good by being part of the Marine system, but trying to change it from the inside, like members of Sword, etc., hopefully like Garp will do in the future, we don't know, they have their own angle, which is, like, more morally flawed than Dragon's route, but it's also less suicidal. Apple Killer 2308, thanks for the 2. The legends have assembled, no bum Goku in sight. Yeah, I just don't think Sengoku's, like, that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things now. I never felt like Sengoku was that strong in the grand scheme of things. I've always, like, if you go back to my rankings, etc., I was hesitant to put Sengoku above, like, Rayleigh, for example. But I did, because I was just like, it feels like we're supposed to view Sengoku as, like, comparable to Garp to some degree. It's like, weird, because it felt like we're supposed to view him like that, but at the same time, it didn't really feel like he's like that. I just felt like Sengoku never had, like, that aura that other old legends are kind of treated with. To me, this kind of confirms it, which is just like, Oda literally explains all the strongest fighters on the ocean are here at God Valley. If you're not at God Valley, you are not one of the strongest characters in the world. That's just period. That's it. Sengoku doesn't make the cut. That's just the way it is. I imagine that Sengoku, I view him more now as like Helmeppo to Garp's Kobe. I think that's a fitting comparison. Let's get the stream likes up to 150 real quick. Ravenhill, thanks for the 10. What if Garp doesn't want Luffy around Shanks, not just because he's a pirate, but maybe Garling did something to Dragon, or Garp saw something and made him hate Garling? I don't think that that's going to be the case. Maybe. Actually, that's possible. Maybe Garp really dislikes Garling too, but I think it's more because of the pirate situation. P-Boy says, Bogard confirmed top tier. No, because it's... It's like a rectangle squares type thing, right? Like, not everybody at God Valley is automatically one of the strongest characters in the world, right? Because, like, fucking, like, Marine Soldier number 55 is not like one of the strongest characters in the world, right? Just because you're at God Valley, that doesn't mean you're automatically one of the strongest. But if you're not at God Valley, that's what the narrator text box establishes. If you're not at God Valley, that means you're definitely not one of the strongest characters in the world. Because the narrator is basically establishing everybody who's among the strongest in the world is at God Valley. The narrator just doesn't name which character specifically that includes, right? But that does mean that you're not in that grouping. It's not you if you're not there in general, period, you know? Beep, thanks for the 10. Oda wants us to think of Garp in any positive way when this man is defending and actively letting the Diddy Dragon's actions. Even regular Marines are scum because Celestial Dragon slavery is public info. I think I'm good. I think we're going in circles with all of this stuff. Like, a lot of regular Marines, they're spending I get that there's a lot of bad Marines at God Valley right now doing shitty stuff. A lot of regular Marines are also spending their entire career saving people's lives, right? Like, that's the case. I don't think Bellemere was fucking trying to impose slavery on behalf of the Celestial Dragons. I do think that she was trying to save innocent lives from the battlefield, like she did with Infant, Nami, and Nojiko, right? I do think that's what Chipcutter T-Bone does. I do think that's what fucking Smoker does, right? Like, you get, like, in terms of actual impact, most Marines, like, their day-to-day job is risking their lives to save the common person. That's what it is, you know? That I don't really know what other way to say it than that. The idea is that the Marines are a mixed bunch, and there's a lot of terrible things that the Marines are made to do, but it's not like that's the common experience of every Marine soldier. Alan Walker, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 9 months. First comment, Morge, you are the best One Piece YouTuber. Also, Dragon is the GOAT. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And yeah, Dragon is the GOAT. King J, thanks a lot. I was expecting for Garling versus Whitebeard, but there's now a subtle hint of Rayleigh at least encountering Garling while saving Shaki. What's interesting is, like, I started to shift towards Garling versus Rayleigh is going to happen, because we know Rayleigh is ultimately the one who gets Shaki, right? But the wrench in the works now is, so initially we did this on stream, right? The guessing game. Initially we had Shiki versus Rayleigh, Silver Axe versus Gabon, right? Then we started to learn more that Garling's the one who's really trying to get his hands on Shaki, right? So it's like, okay, maybe Rayleigh fights Garling. But then this chapter also reinforced that Shiki is very driven to get Shaki. Like, he's very driven to get Shaki, and so is Silver Axe. So I think that matchup is now back on the table, because Garling might be busy with all the fucking pirate, like, well, they are pirates, but Garling might be busy. He might be occupied. It's very possible that Shiki and Silver Axe are the first ones on the Rocks Pirate side to get to Shaki, and then Rayleigh and Gabon are the first ones on the Roger Pirate side to get to Shaki, and then the matchups play out for there. Because Whitebeard is also trying to get to Shaki too now, right? So that could give us we saw Whitebeard and Shiki kind of carving their way through. So I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing, like, Whitebeard get to Shaki, and Shiki get to Shaki. Garling's going to be trying to guard Shaki. Rayleigh get to Shaki, Gabon get to Shaki, and then maybe the matchups play out kind of like we thought, with Garling versus Whitebeard, Shiki versus Rayleigh, Gabon versus Silver Axe. I think that'd be pretty cool. Tom says, hot take, we ain't seeing any fights, LMAO. I'd be so fucking sad if I'm not saying we need to see fights. I'm just saying, like, okay, bare minimum, I think we'll get clashes. Bare minimum, I think we'll get clashes. All I ask for is, like, for these characters, doesn't need to be anything crazy. For these characters, Whitebeard, Rayleigh, Gabon, Roger, Rocks, Garp, Garling. Those characters give me some action that's equivalent to Marco versus Kizaru. Because Marco versus Kizaru is not a lot of action. Like, it's really not an extensive fight. It's just a few panels back and forth. But I think that interaction is seared in the brains of the One Piece fandom as, like, one of the most epic interactions in One Piece. Just because it was our first time really seeing the more eclectic abilities of one, like, the more out there abilities and, like, hype characters in One Piece have an extended little back and forth with each other, you know? Like an Admiral versus Whitebeard's first mate. So, yeah, I just think that that's kind of cool. Let's get the film up to 150 real quick. Garling is going to get Shamrock from Dragon, no? Yeah. So we don't know exactly. Well, here's my new thought, right? Because I thought it'd be cool if Garling encounters Dragon and gets back at least one of his kids, because I like the idea of that setting up for Dragon versus Garling in the future once Dragon grows up and becomes a lot stronger. But there's another possibility, which is that Dragon found 2 chests, put Shanks in one chest, Shamrock in the other chest, and Garling got his hands on one and the Roger Pirates got their hands on the other. I think that's possible as well. Rihanna Zar, thanks for the 10. With Dragon being such a small fried God Valley, I need to see a cathartic scene of him post eating his one OP prize fruit, actually fighting maybe even a God's Knight. Like, now he has the power to affect change. So you know what's interesting? I really so somebody talked about this recently. Somebody on stream, I think, brought up that God Valley is really supposed to be like Dragon's Marine Ford, in the sense that, like, it's Dragon in the middle of the biggest battle of his era, when he's like a young kid or rookie or whatever, and just being so out of his depth. And at the end of the day, it's like the same way Luffy just discovered how out of his depth he was at Marineford and realized how strong he needed to become. This is the formative experience for Dragon. So I feel like kind of the point would be that Dragon doesn't become like. I remember feeling this at the end of. I read Marineford when I was young, right? Like early high school. I remember at the end of Marineford, like I'd seen Luffy just be so humiliated and so like looked down upon and so trampled upon for so like 50 straight chapters, right? And so all I wanted at the end of Marineford, it was like, especially after like Akainu killed Ace, all I wanted was like, I wanted that classic anime power up. I wanted that classic anime moment where it's like, okay, this is so fucked up. This is so fucked up. Luffy tried so hard for all of this. Like, this is so fucked up. They still took Ace from it, etc. Now he's got to get mad. Like, now he needs to awaken something or do something. Like, he can't just go out like this. That was my thoughts. It was just like, I couldn't really process that, like, this might just really be the way that it ends. And that Luffy just goes out of this whole conflict without a W. Like, and just being this weak, like, helpless character at the end of it all. I really thought that, like, because the chapter after Ace went down, like, the next few chapters, I was just like, is Luffy gonna, like, awaken something? Is he gonna wake up? Is he gonna awaken something? Or show new gear? Do something? That's all I wanted. And then it slowly dawned on me, like, it's just not happening. Like, this whole thing is wrapping up, and Luffy's not gonna get that classic anime moment. There's no, like, Goku Super Saiyan thing happening here. There's no, like, Demon Slayer awakening the mark. None of that's happening, okay? Luffy just lost. Like, he lost, and it was important. Like, the weight of that did hit me, and it felt really, really impactful at the time to realize that I did just read this whole gigantic storyline of Luffy jumping through so many hoops and in such an important conflict and just being helpless and not actually being able to defeat anybody. Like, he had no W's at the end of Marineford, unless you count, like, Luffy beating Kobe or something like that. And that was impactful. And I realized as it winded down that this actually carries more weight and it feels more impactful than Luffy just waking up and getting some get back right here. Because it sets up for Luffy to get his get back, right, his run back, later on. And that's what really matters here, right? What matters is this experience of Luffy not being able to hang with everybody is what drives him to become as strong as he becomes. And it builds so much anticipation to the future where Luffy will be strong enough to actually replay this sort of conflict and come out on top, right? I think that's important for Dragon here as well. I think it is important. We haven't seen much of Dragon just yet, but it seems like he was probably even weaker than Luffy was at Marineford. We don't know yet. We don't know. But because Dragon might just be a normal fucking soldier right here. Like Kobe level or something. But pre-time skip Kobe level. But I feel like that's like maybe Dragon opens up his fruit, eats his fruit, and like fucks up a God's Night. That's entirely possible. But I almost feel like it might be cooler if Dragon has an experience similar to Luffy where he feels his powerlessness, feels how unable to actually help or fight anybody he at his current level, right? And he gets the fruit, and after that basically still realizes like that's the revelation for him that like what he needs to become, what he needs to do for the future. I think that leads to the excitement of, because you know what's going to happen after this? So there's two things that are going to happen after this. One, we're going to cut back to Elbaf. After this whole God Valley flashback and the Herald part of it 14 years ago, we're going to cut back to Elbaf, number one, and we're going to see the Strahds fight Emu, God's Knights, etc., right? Two, we're going to cut to Marijua and see Dragon and the Revolutionaries, presumably, fighting the Gorosei, the God's Knights, all of them there. So this God Valley flashback, like, yeah, it's got Dragon as a centerpiece for it, and it's got us excited for Dragon, largely because one of the next big things that's about to happen in the story is between seeing Dragon in the past and the weakling that he was, we're going to be cutting back to the current story and seeing Dragon as the full-fledged powerhouse that he is now, who's basically come knocking at the door for Emu after everything that he experienced, and the Celestial Dragons, after everything that he experienced at God Valley. So I think Oda's timed things up perfectly in that regard. Anyway, let's get the streamlights up to 200 real quick. Nerve AMV Maker, thanks for the 5. I hope Garp seeing this competition is what makes him decide to stay a Vice Admiral and never be under Celestial Dragon control. Garp seeing this competition is what makes him decide to stay a Vice Admiral and never be under Celestial Dragon control. Well, the thing is, like, I figure Garp probably already made that decision, right? Because, like, Garp is already way stronger than any admiral that they have right now. It's already established that, like, they're not sending in admirals to God Valley. They're sending in Garp. The narrator establishes that all the strongest characters in the world are being sent to, are at God Valley, right? So that's Garp, right? Not the admirals. They don't scratch that, right? Garp was already fucking talking down to Admiral Kong and everything before this, like, years ago. And on top of that, Rox fucking killed an admiral casually like decades ago, like before any of this even started, but he's worried about Garp, right? Garp is clearly a bigger threat than admirals already. Like, this is what we're looking at right now is prime Garp, right? So if Garp was going to be an admiral, he would already have been promoted at this point in time, you know? He would have already been offered up the option for promotion at this point in time. So the fact that he's already been refusing promotion to admiral status means that he has already been trying to avoid that, you know? Oscar Cruz, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 32 months, man. These are surreal chapters. Thanks for all the amazing analysis. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in, man. I appreciate it. Glad you're enjoying it. I'm really fucking loving these chapters. Carnage, thanks for the 5. I think whatever fruit Davy Jones has is at God Valley. Is at God Valley. Rox will eat it and have an awakening moment like Luffy, prompting Garp and Roger to put him down. That's an interesting idea. I still lean towards the idea of Rox being Dami reversied, but the fruit... We're reaching the end of the flashback. It is about time for us to learn what those fruits are. Garp Chamber, thanks for the 5. Garp wants absolute... so you're a Garp fan, I can tell. Sorry, let me just double check one thing. Garp wants absolute freedom, but also has the duty of being the world's hero. Reminds me of your take on Zoro's insane ambition and selfless loyalty. Yeah, like, I imagine Garp saves a lot of lives. I think what would really help everything... Here's the biggest thing Oda could do to help people understand the moral nuance of what Oda's trying to do with the good Marines. If Oda did more scenes of the Marines saving people instead of just telling us that Garp saves people and Kobe saves people, I think that would do a lot. Because, like, the reason that we love the Strahd so much is because we actually get to read arc after arc of, like, their selflessness, their empathy, etc. Because the Strahds are not morally perfect. If the Strahds were just a group that we were, like, hearing about, then I think we'd have a lot of critiques of them. Like, why is Luffy doing all this stuff, but he doesn't choose to, like, start a revolution against the world government or something? Like, we might have more critiques of these of pirates if we didn't read the story through Pirates' lens, right? We might view Luffy even more as an anti-hero or something, right? If we were reading the story through Kobe's perspective or some Marine, right? But we see arc after arc. Like, we get to see and feel the struggle of the Strahd stepping up to save Kokoyashi Village, of them, like, stepping up to save Alabasta, like, everything that they go through. So we understand the moral good inside of them, right? And we don't just hit them with labels, right? If we got that level of storytelling for Garp, Kobe, etc., the one time we did was probably Hachinosu, but Hachinosu doesn't really count because they're not really saving innocent civilians as much there. They're saving their own asses. I think that's the biggest thing that Oda could have done. Because, like, showing, not telling, right? Like, I have to make a lot of arguments on the Marines' behalf. I'm, like, never even arguing that the Marines are, like, good people. Even... A lot of the Marines are really terrible people. But I'm not even trying to argue that, like, some Marines are good people. I'm trying to argue that they're not, like, just pure evil, like people seem to feel. And I think Oda could do a lot to help that if he just had more storytelling around them, you know? Showcasing what we're told about them. Metra, thanks for the 5. I heard people speculate that Rox will get reversied. Since the D's are the enemies of God, according to Corazon, could they be immune to reversies? Oh, shit. That's actually a very interesting idea. I've never heard of that before. Because it's implied that only a D can, like, save the world and all that shit. So maybe it's immunity to Dami Reversi that could be the answer. That's a really interesting idea. I've never heard that before. It's a good theory. Yeah, I don't know. 10K, thanks for the 2. Sengoku was the fleet admiral, bro. Helmepo, come on. But that's just... That doesn't change what I said, though, does it? Because, like, Helmeppo could grow to Fleet Admiral level, I'm saying that Kobe's just way above. You see what I'm saying? Like, this doesn't change the fact that that Sengoku got to Fleet Admiral level. It's just that doesn't mean he's close to Garp, you know? Because it's clear there's already like a huge gap between Garp versus admirals, like a huge gap. Again, like admirals are not even they're not even trying to call in admirals to deal with the shit at God Valley. Like the Marines are like, this is absolute emergency shit. We're calling in Garp, right? Garp was already treating Admiral Kong like he's his junior back in that flashback that we saw, right? Like, again, Rox took care of an admiral right off the bat in his backstory, but Rox clearly views Garp as a threat. There's just levels to this, I'm saying. Like, Sengoku can reach admiral level, and it's not like Fleet Admiral level is a whole different level than admiral level, for the record, because we already fucking saw that Fleet Admiral is just an admiral being promoted to Fleet Admiral, right? Like, it's not like there's a gigantic gap between Akainu and Aokiji, even though they're both just Fleet Admiral Akainu is still the same as like when he was a fucking Admiral Akainu, you know, which is also the same as Admiral Aokiji, which doesn't seem to be like that different from Admiral Kizaru, you know. So, Sengoku, Prime Sengoku, Admiral level, probably the strongest like Admiral whatever of the time, especially because like Roger does mention like bring Garp or Sengoku if you want like an actual threat. But that doesn't mean like he's like equal to Garp, because it's become very clear that he's not being portrayed as like Garp's equal, right? Like it's more of a Kobe Helmeppo situation where like you got one guy who's above, and then you've got his partner, but his partner's some steps down, right? It's still chasing in his footsteps. Garp equal Yonko? No, Garp is clearly Pirate King tier, and I do consider Pirate King tier to be a level above Yonko. Elijah Petty, thanks for the 2. Is Shanks not crying related to the Child of Destiny? I don't know. I think he's just like built like that as a kid. Yeah, Prime Garp above Yonko level. Yeah, we're looking at Prime Garp right now. I think one thing that's interesting about God Valley is like, I wonder if people feel like who all is in their prime. I think that'll be I wish Oda just has a narrator text box or something like explicitly state like who's in their prime right now or something. I know that it's established in some One Piece magazine or some shit somewhere that Whitebeard is currently 2 years away from his prime, from his absolute peak. So I imagine he's like clearly above Marine Forward level because he's like not having heart attacks and he's not on life support and all that stuff. But he's still not like prime Whitebeard or whatever. But then Rox has obviously got to be in his prime. And then Roger and Garp are older than Whitebeard. They're his seniors. So I imagine they're in their prime at this point, personally. But maybe God Valley will help us understand a little bit better. Let me clarify. I think Roger is not in his prime at this very second. I think by the end of God Valley, he will be, because you have your biggest growth and hockey blooms in the heat of battle, and God Valley is going to be the biggest battle that's the defining battle of this era, right? This is the battle where it shifts from Rox's era, and then it becomes Roger's era afterwards, right? So it's got to be some battle. I imagine it's this battle. I think Roger, by the end of God Valley, will have had some hockey bloom and will be in his prime. Garp may already be in his prime, just from the way that Garp's kind of presented so far. He's kind of already presented as like the number one Marine, all of that stuff. Newts, thanks for the 5. How much longer will this flashback go, and will there be a cutaway to the outside world during Elbaf, or will it be post-arc? Longtime fan, you're the best. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. I think this flashback will be at least... I think it'll be another 10 chapters. I think it'll go to 1170. That's my feeling right now. which is pretty insanely long. But the thing is that it's also got to cover the Loki and Herald shit. That's the big thing. So I think it's got to cover the Loki Herald shit. And the really crazy thing is that it might even go past that 14-year moment, because it might spill into, like, well, then what happened with Loki after Harold's death, right? Like, what was the aftermath of that? Loki set off to sea. He was searching for, presumably, he was searching for something. He runs into Shanks 6 years ago. Like, so we might even have another chapter or two after that. So, because, again, this was technically Loki's flashback to begin with. So it's just got to cover so much. Will there be a cutaway to the outside world during Elbaf, or will it be post-arc? I feel like it might be post-arc, but maybe the events of Marijua need to be addressed right now. So I don't know. I think that's really, really hard to predict. I thought Elbaf would all wrap up around chapter 1200, but now it's seeming less and less likely. Carlo Wally, thanks for the 2. I think Emu dommies Garp and Roger instead of Rocks. Oh, that would be insane. That would be fucking insane. I can't look at Roger and Garp. That'd be sad to see. That'd be insane. Maybe, man. I don't know. How does it get undone then? Let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Dare Boppler, thanks for the 5. Hey, Harley. Hey, don't do that. No. Dare Boppler, thanks for the 5. Why not found Marines 2.0 that is independent of the world government and therefore only has a fraction of the cost, because no money goes to Celestial Dragons? World government is not needed. Because the world government would probably fucking eradicate that shit, or call it like some sort of terror group or criminal group or something, and then murder everyone in there. You know, it's like trying to do anything out. Like the One Piece world is very simple, right? You try to do anything outside of what the world government sanctions, you're a pirate. It doesn't really matter what you do. Like, the Strahds didn't fucking do anything bad for the first, like, God knows how long, but they're still pirates, just by like, they did technically call themselves pirates in the first place, but, like, that's about it. Like, that's all they really did. You try and do anything large or organized outside of the world government's control, you're a pirate. Like, even Pedro was talking about how, like, he and the Nox pirates, they weren't initially, like, they were just explorers or something like that. I might be mixing up the lore. But he said they were just explorers, and then eventually they began being called pirates. I might be mixing up the story there, but that's what I remember. But I don't think you're allowed to exist in the world as just, like, any sort of strong, independent group. The world government will dub you the way that they want to dub you, right? So, and then you've signed up for also having to fight against the world government and the Marines now, right? So even if you're trying to do good on your own, I imagine that if you grow big enough, the world government will try and spin propaganda against you, and so now you're going to be trying to do good at the same time as having to fight off, like, Marines and stuff trying to crack down on you. As opposed to just working, if you want to save civilians, etc., you work in the Marines, hey, you get enough independence to do what you want, like Garp does, like Kobe does now as a member of SWORD to some degree. And you can stay away from helping out with Celestial Dragon nasty shit. You can just focus on using the Marine resources and your subordinates, etc., to help civilians. Malik F. But again, I feel like I'm doing a lot of legwork here on behalf of the Marines. I would love if Oda fleshed out a little bit more what actually goes through Garp's head over the course of this God Valley, you know? Malik F15, thanks for the 2. How naive you think Harold is despite evil act of government? Well, let's see. I think Harold will change his ways. You know? I think Harold will come through and help Rocks in the end. Beep, thanks for the 5. How much for you to slam the desk full force? I'm serious. We need Warge lore. How's that Warge lore? I'm not going to slam the desk full force because it could shake up the whole system. It could shake up everything. Meek, thanks for the 2. You missed my super chat a bit ago, I think. Oh, shit. I'm sorry, man. Fuck. Let's see. Fuck. I think I caught your super because I responded to something from you. Oh, no, I missed this. Meek, thanks for the 5 earlier, man. I'm sorry. Why do you think the gas mask and purple hair Holy Knight and Gansui/Gilbaster are not shown this chapter? Maybe Gilbaster was just Oda's fun little Easter egg. Gansui just might not be significant enough. The gas mask thing is an interesting question because I remember it even had a number on them. Purple hair Holy Knight, I don't remember who that was. Yeah, that's a really good question. Maybe they're assigned to doing something else right now, because even Gunkko's not in that spread, right? So the spread doesn't cover everybody. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 God's Knights in this spread. I think from what we know, there's like 9 to 10 God's Knights at any given time. So, yeah. Gunkko's missing. Gas Mask is missing. Maybe they're assigned to do something else right now, and that's why they wouldn't make sense right here. So that might be clarified later. Hold on. JP, thanks for the 5. Shout out to Douglas Bullet in the back of the Roger Pirates. Yeah, it's cool to see Douglas Bullet. Amartya Sinha, thanks for the 2. Will Gorsig Garling kill Rayleigh? I don't think they're going to kill... Oh, you're saying in the modern day. That would be wild. If Garling killed Rayleigh? Oh, fuck no. We don't stand for that. Luffy's got to kill that... Luffy's got to kill Garling if he does that to his mentor, his sensei. That'd be crazy. I feel like if Rayleigh knows what's good for him, he stays out of this whole conflict. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Dillionaire, thanks for the 5. Do you think Oda will write Emu to be a compelling character we are meant to sympathize with, or will he be a character we are meant to hate to our cores? I think he'll be a character we are meant to hate to our cores. I think it'll be like an NL type character. Prawley Histor, thanks a lot. I'm going to start a hunger strike from now on until you release the Wano analysis. All right, I hope you can... I'm not going to make any jokes. One Piece, One Life, thanks for the 2. Yo, Morge, you noticed Oda made Douglas Bullet canon? I think all those characters are supposed to be canon. Like, Shiki was always canon. Zephyr was always canon. Bullet was always supposed to be canon. It's just that the movie adaptation versions of them are not canon. So I think that's the part of them that's a little different. Like Zephyr would be a Marine Admiral right now, I think. I might have timelines wrong, but I think that lines up. Le Man, thanks for the 5. God Valley is giving way more the horrors of genocide rather than Battle Shonen. I'm not expecting focused matchups here. I mean, you could argue that like Marine Ford was more like an actual war than a traditional Battle Shonen. Like if you compare like to the Naruto War, the Bleach War, everyone like lines up in nice little 1v1s, etc., and does that. But the Marineford War did actually try to show some of the horrors of war. That's what Kobe was freaking out about towards the end and screaming about, yada yada. Like, and as much as God Valley's giving the horrors of genocide, you're still having gags like Roger pirates running in and Roger saying like, "You all do this, I'll get Shaki," and then they all run over him. Like, Oda's not treating... This isn't fucking like... We're not reading like a Vinland Saga type depiction of war here at the end of the day, or slavery. Like it's still One Piece at the end of the day, you know. So I get that we might not see focused matchups, but one, I'm speaking partly from hope and expectation, which is just that like, what is the point of doing like all these crazy lineups with all of these exciting characters all grouped up together, right? Everything that we want to see, if it's just to showcase the idea that they fought against each other instead of actually giving glimpses of the fights. Like, it's really bizarre to... Like, he just did a whole chapter devoted to showing the crazy lineups and hyping us up for the battle that's going to happen. What's the point if we're not going to see any of the like... It's just hyping up an idea rather than actually like delivering on what we would want to see. And I'm not saying we see focused matchups like it's not gonna be like Wano Onigashima where we get like chapter after chapter of fight. I'm just saying like Marineford, you know, and not like as extensive as Marineford either, because Marineford was like a whole bunch of back and forth and push and pull and like strategic moves, etc. But just like a couple panels here and there for different characters, you know. Like, let's say Marco Kizaru is like the high end of things. So maybe one matchup gets like a Marco Kizaru level of panels. Mihawk Vista, I'm cool with that. Like, just few panels of like Shiki trying to get to Shaki or something. Rayleigh jumps in the way and stops him. And then it's like they exchange some words. And then maybe we cut back to them and they're like trading blows a little bit. Like, that level of combat I think is fine to see. You know, I don't think that's crazy to expect in a battle shonen, which One Piece is. It's very much a battle shonen, you know? So I'm not saying, like, focused matchups. We don't need full chapters, but it's just like, it's almost pointless to line up all these characters and hype us up for them going at each other if they're not actually going to be shown going at each other. Rock Nation Brunch, thanks for the 2. God Valley will parallel the final arc / battle. Yeah, maybe. I think it's supposed to be the great battle before the great battle, you know? Garp Chamber, thanks for the 5. Heard the announcer got killed by a pirate and the slaves didn't care and some were celebrating. He was a husband and had kids, so heartless. Oh, man. 10K, thanks for the 2. People are saying it's Bullet, but it's Rangram? Who the fuck was Rangram? Roger Pirates. Rangram. Because Bullet didn't make it in the official list of Roger Pirate subordinates, right? Is that... Fuck, it might be fucking Rangram. I'm looking at a photo of Rangram right now. It might be him. Yeah. Eric J.O., thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 23 months, man. Stream idea entrepreneur tier list. For example, Strusen S tier going from a nobody to Rock's crew member while being a weak bum the entire time. I think that's a really fun stream idea. I'm going to add that. Stream idea businessman / entrepreneur tier list. Yeah, I think that's a really fun idea. I like that a lot. Rob, thanks for the 2. Gunkko is special, only God Knight who hasn't aged. Yeah, and I think that relates to the Emu possession stuff and being the Blade of God, etc. 10K, thanks for the 2. Bullet would be 6 or 7 during God Valley. Oh my god. So it's fucking Rangram. I guess it doesn't matter. It's not. Okay. Alright, fair enough. It's just Rangram. Little Dragon 21, thanks for the 2. The Garp aura this chapter is mental. Yeah, this chapter has sparked so many discussions in terms of like, either you're just really hyped about Garp's entrance because it is the most hype entrance out of all the entrances, or you're just like, what the fuck are you doing here, man? Why are you so happy to be here? Don't you know what the fuck is going on here? Why are you helping these Marines who fucking corralled all these people into being slaughtered? Yeah, we need some answers from Garp. Raven Hill, thanks for the 5. What if Dragon attacks the Holy Land from the east and starts launching desks at them, and it's revealed he has the desk fruit? That'd be really funny. But it kind of would be like, the desk fruit. Little do you know that I am a master of desks, and that this plays right into my hands. They have no power on me against me. Grizzly Adams, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 25 months. The mid-generation, the ones at Roger's generation, never had a culminating event like God Valley or the Final War. Is it possible they aren't at their peak either? Marineford was a taste, but not enough. So it's interesting because the Great Age of Pirates was about... So now we have perspective, right? So the old era, like this whole Rocks... Because it's really technically 2 eras. Like Rocks' era... And then the Roger era, which was everything post God Valley till Roger's execution. You can see how things worked, right? So I did a whole video breaking this down, how the Rocks Pirates lore, basically how the Rocks Pirates explain all One Piece pirate lore. But the sequence of eras was this. The way Oda did it was very smart, which is like prior to Rocks and all these pirates getting together, the Rocks Pirates getting together, the era really belonged to the Giants. It was the Giants era, right? The Giants fucking ruled the New World, and then finally Dorian Broggie they fucked off to have their duel. Harold went to peace. He's like, okay, I'm gonna be a peace main dude. I'm a peace guy. And that's when Rocks began his story, right? And Rocks was collecting these characters. And what's interesting is that like the characters who rose up during this generation, the pirate world was smaller. It was pretty concentrated amongst the Rocks Pirates, the Roger Pirates, and then I suppose the Kuja Pirates to some degree. The pirate world was smaller and more compact. It didn't have like great empires and all this stuff, but it was quality over quantity in that the greatest, strongest pirate legends all rose up from this era, right? Like all the current Yonko, the Pirate King, Roger, Whitebeard, Rocks, all of them from this generation, right? That was like the special generation, right? Then the post-Rocks era was basically like this sort of transition period where like Roger was the big dog, but all the remnants from Rocks were like going around and like starting to build their empires. Then post-Roger's execution, it kind of became, that was when the Great Age of Pirates started, right? So the Great Age of Pirates is this cool combination where the remnants of the Rocks Pirates have built and established their own empires now, okay? So they're settled and established. And Roger's execution has caused this influx of all these new pirates who are all taking to the seas and searching for the One Piece. This also results in a bit more of a quantity over quality type situation. Part of it's just fate. You know, you never control how many great figures rise up during this period of time. But there are plenty of characters who are like very strong, right? Shanks comes up during this era. Mihawk comes up during this era. It's just not as many, right? You could argue that Dragon is also from this era. He's like a bit of a cross in between. His rise is maybe during... Dragon's an in-between, right? Is Dragon Kaido's age right now? I don't know. But yeah, the Great Age of Pirates, it had a shit ton of pirates take to the seas, but it didn't have the quality of pirates that rose up during this whole period of time. So it's... And you're arguing that is it possible that they aren't at their peak either? I don't know. Like, I feel like characters like Shanks, Mihawk, etc. have already hit their peak because I get that they didn't have like a defining battle like God Valley or whatever. But one thing that's implied that's interesting. Oh, Loki's, I guess, also. But Loki, he was born much earlier. One thing that's interesting is that it's implied that a lot of the pirates that rose up in this era, they kind of had to go through the Crucible because this was an era where the sea was very saturated already with the remnants of the Rocks pirates, right? So the Yonko have already created their strongholds. So a lot of pirates, their story, who rose up in this era, is like, yeah, there was not one singular defining conflict that brought everybody together and made them fight, but they had to test their mettle against the Yonko, and the Yonko are kind of like this meat grinder that basically like chews up and spits out any pirate that's trying to rise up, right? So like, yeah, maybe Crocodile never reached his full potential. Maybe Doflamingo, Doflamingo was never really crushed, I guess, by a New World pirate, but like Gecko Moria, maybe he never reached his full potential. Maybe there are like a lot of pirates that never really quite reached their full potential, during this era. Like the only one who's able to break through, I guess you would say, are like Shanks and Mihawk, right? And so it's not necessary, I think, for there to have been like a huge singular battle that brought everyone together, because it's like lots of battles were fought by these pirates who were trying to like rise up and compete with the Yonko. It's just most of them were crushed, I think, over the course of this era, right? So you see the ones that managed to survive and stick. It's pretty much the way it went. And then the current era is where you get this new batch of like really strong pirates, because you got obviously Luffy, Zoro, among the supernovas, right? Kid and Law we don't count because they're bums. But then you also had Ace, who also had Pirate King potential. So you got like a slew of new characters basically, who rose up as the Great Pirate Era kind of reached its conclusion. And they're all like, you know, top tier potential characters and stuff, you know? Yeah, like characters like Shanks and Mihawk got to fight each other, you know? Yeah. I just think the lore of the One Piece pirate world, if you really think about it, it's just really, really interesting how things play out and how certain generations just have more rising stars than others, all of that. Little Dragon 21, thanks for the 10. Garling's comment on Fate is so fascinating because one of the biggest players that changed the world all converge here. Fall of Rocks, Blackbeard's hatred, Dragon saves Shanks and Kuma, etc. Yeah, God Valley is the most significant incident in One Piece history until, I guess, the final war itself, and I guess the Void Century War way back when. And maybe there's some big war at the end of the First World. So it's really interesting. King J, thanks a lot. 5 Elders plus 11 God's Knights equals 16 Holy Bullets. 166 Moon. Oh, that's really interesting. 5 Elders plus 11 God's Knights. Are there 11 God's Knights? I don't know if there's 11 God's Knights. Is it established this chapter? Maybe I missed that. Fuck. Did I miss that? Or did I misremember that? Are there 11 God's Knights? Damn, does it outright say that? Hold on. Hold on. Shit. Does it say there's 11 God's Knights? Count the Shadows in 1096. 1096 shows 11? Really? Let me see again. That's very interesting because that parallels, kind of parallels the. Does that parallel the? How many? Fuck. How many are the Strats right now? The Strats have 10 right now, right? Oh yeah, the shadows. You're right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. Good point. Polo J, thanks for the 2. Wish that Gloriosa said something better for her number 2. We already saw that Gloriosa really cares about Shaki because we saw a reaction once Shaki was captured, right? So I think it's understood that Gloriosa does really want to care about Shaki and does really want to save Shaki. I think this is just Oda being Oda by adding like another little extra motivation that's he finds funny or like quirky for her. I think Oda's also trying to give like a nice range of personalities for the Rocks Pirates, so and their motivations. So that's why he's trying to add something. Like he's not just having Gloriosa because Whitebeard says I'm here to save my friend. Having Gloriosa also say I'm here to save my friend. I think Oda's trying to just mix it up a bit more. You know, that's my feeling. Flitch, thanks for the 5. Thoughts about the initial conflict in One Piece being something close to the Shaki situation, reinforcing the idea of a Romance Dawn. The thing is that One Piece is never... Romance Dawn, it's in One Piece, it's never talking about... like. It's not talking about romance in like the romantic love sense. Romance Dawn in One Piece is like the concept of romanticism, right? Like, One Piece is very much it's a story that encapsulates the old school ideas of, romanticism in terms of like adventure, in not even storytelling, old school definitions of romance is basically the idea of like the great, how do I put this in terms that make sense? Great, the romance of an age, the heart, the feel of an age, the great adventure, the feeling of openness, freedom, it's like old school hero stories are very much based around these old school ideas of romance. Like you've probably heard the term the romance of the sea. It's not talking about like literal like romantic love with the ocean, but like what the sea represents in terms of adventure, freedom, boundless exploration, right? Like, does that make sense? The exaltation of feelings, that's a very good definition for it. Vex, thanks for the 5. Do you think Shamrock will betray the world government? No. I think Shamrock seems like a piece of shit right now from all of his dialogue. My personal whatever Cricket said in Jaya. Yeah, isn't that romantic? Like, that's the... Like, when they're talking about Skypiea, does it exist? Does it not exist? That's what romantic means in the old school way of speaking. I'm not a word history expert. I'm curious as to whether that definition of romance predated what romance became, or if there was just always kind of two different uses of the term. Joel says, thanks for the 5. Mord, your hair is looking bomb. Your long hair era was bunk. Shout out to your barber. What are the dogs up to these days? Thanks, Joel. I like my hair right now too. I probably do need to get a haircut soonish. It's probably been about a month. I agree the long hair era was bunk. And the dogs are being good dogs. They were barking a lot earlier, but they're being good dogs right now. Blah says, Morge, do you think Ray will fight Garling, and do you think that he will win against Garling? I'm leaning again, because like now it seems like Shiki's really... So, from this chapter, it looks like Shiki and Whitebeard are kind of carving their way over to Shaki. Right? So, Man, I would love to see Rayleigh versus Garling. I would love to see Rayleigh versus Garling, but I feel like Rayleigh versus Shiki just might be the thing that happens. Because Whitebeard versus because now we understand, we know everyone's motivations now, right? So like we know who are the characters that are making a beeline for Shaki are Roger and Gabon. Rayleigh and Gabon. Roger's been distracted essentially, right? Rayleigh, Gabon making a beeline for Shaki. Out of the Rocks Pirates, Shiki, Whitebeard, and seemingly Silveraxe are driving towards Shaki. Gloriosa maybe as well. Yeah, so I think any of these characters could cross paths with Garling. I'm leaning toward, I feel like it's a 50-50. Here, let me do a poll. I feel like it's a 50-50 at this point between, is it going to be Whitebeard versus Garling or Rayleigh versus Garling? Maybe both. Here. JP, thanks for the 10. It's interesting Dragon doesn't seem to be getting any special privilege or even recognizes Garp's kid. Wonder if both want to avoid nepotism claims. Surely Garp will protect him here if needed, yeah? Yeah, that's the interesting thing. I feel like you would imagine that, like, remember how much, like, fucking Helma Poe talked up the fact that he was Morgan's kid? And, like, Garp is fucking Garp, you know? Like, Garp is the Marine. Like, the strongest, greatest Marine of this era. So, like, it is odd that Dragon gets no special treatment and they kind of shit on him. That's interesting. Yeah, maybe they don't play that up as much. I don't know. It is weird because you would think that the Marines would be like, hey, that's Garp's kid. Don't talk to him like that. I'm interested to see a Garp-Dragon interaction here for sure. Will Whitebeard... Okay, hold on. Who will fight Garling? Captain T, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 7 months. I like how seeing the Celestial Dragons from a young Blackbeard's view made them feel monstrous. It really makes me question why he's so desperate to be a king. I think that Blackbeard... I think the king part of things is like a step in his plan. I think it's a step in his plan. I think it gets him closer to his goal. Okay, so now we're pretty split. Now we got kind of a 50-50 split. Yeah, I could see it going either way. Could definitely see it going either way. Yeah, it's really tricky. It's really tricky because like Garling is the villain of this story. Here's the thing. In terms of quote-unquote power scaling, it feels like Garling versus Whitebeard would be a cooler matchup, right? Which is like prime, close to prime Whitebeard fighting Shanks' dad. That's like a cool matchup that we want to see. It helps establish Garling more for the modern day, right? Gives us an idea of how strong Garling was in his prime because people really respect Whitebeard, right? So if Garling's going to be a villain in the modern day, seeing how he does against Whitebeard back then, it establishes Garling better, right? So that's an interesting point. The power scaling stuff, it just seemed like narratively it would be a better matchup. In terms of storytelling, it feels like and like a lot of people feel like Rayleigh can't hang with Garling. I don't know about that. It's possible. We'll see, right? Storytelling wise, Rayleigh versus Garling feels more fitting because Garling really like Whitebeard has felt like a very, how do I say this? Fighting Garling practically feels like the primary villain of this story at this point. Like he's the one who orchestrated this whole thing. He's the one that Shaki essentially belongs to if he wins the tournament. He seems like the nastiest dude, right? Garling seems like the main villain. Oda has done a lot, for as significant of a character as Whitebeard is in the grand scheme of things, Oda has done a lot to not make Whitebeard a central focus of this flashback, and Whitebeard really feels like, in terms of story relevance here, like a very minor character in this whole story. Whereas Rayleigh has low-key been like the second quiet. Like, if Rox is the hero of the story, Rayleigh is low-key, like, the secondary hero of this whole story. In that, like, yeah, Shaki is the central focus of this whole God Valley big battle and everything like that. And Rayleigh is ultimately, like, it's his romance story. Like, it's his and Shaki's love story that will prevail in the end. And they're the ones that are going to get together. And the Rayleigh Shaki storyline has been the running storyline throughout this whole thing. So it seems like things are set up for us to get to see Rayleigh really, like, win Shaki in a sense, win her love forever, yada yada. So it feels like Rayleigh is set to. Does that make sense? In terms of, like, logic, it feels like Whitebeard Garling makes the most sense. In terms of like, logical, like, what matchups make sense on paper, it feels like that makes the most sense. In terms of in terms of storytelling, it feels like Rayleigh in terms of storytelling, it feels like Rayleigh getting to fight the villain Garling would feel a little bit more traditional for, like, the hero of the love story to fight the big bad villain that's kind of the gatekeeper and the orchestrator behind this whole incident, you know? I can see Garling fighting both of them. Yeah, that'd be cool too. I mean, Rayleigh's no slouch. I think people just think of Rayleigh as some slouch. He's, again, I can't stress this enough. This is Roger's Zorro. It's Zorro before Zorro. And, like, yeah, that's all I gotta say. It's like Zorro before Zorro in his prime, in the most important, like, this is the most important battle of Rayleigh's life. Like, if there's any, like, winner of God Valley, Rayleigh is the winner of God Valley. Like, he's low-key been the second protagonist of all this, you know? Anyway, continuing on. Monte, thanks for the 10. The one swordswoman in God's Knights could be a future Zorro opponent. She's visually positioned as the right hand of Garling in 1160 and 1096. Plus, this finally has Zorro fight a strong swordswoman. Yeah, that's a good point. The tricky thing is that she's going to be old as shit now. Unlike Garling, she's probably not going to get, like, the immortality buff like he's going to get with Gorosei status. And then, is it, like, the God's Knights that are being hyped up the most, it seems like, are obviously Garling, Gunkko, and then Sommers and the Shepherd clan is viewed as, like, a favorite in this whole group. And then on top of that, what's the other clan? There was one other clan. What is it? House Shepherd for the clan contest, yada yada. Bavet. Yeah, the Bavet family. Like, so it feels still like Gunkko, Sommers, Garling are the ones getting the main focus and hype. This Bavet family is still up in the air, though. We don't know what happens with them. And Crust, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 25 months. Big Mom's dialogue makes me think that she and Shaki were good friends. LMO, it's funny to imagine those two interacting as they are now. Saboti on reread is so much more interesting with all this context. Yeah, everything was just so much more chill back then amongst pirates. The whole world of pirates became so much more hateful and mean towards each other after Roger died and promised everyone this big-ass treasure. Like, before, they could all just chill in Shaki's bar. Even Roger and Rox, who didn't like each other, it wasn't like Blackbeard and Luffy at each other's throats, at least during the bar. Maybe Roger kind of wants to throttle Rox now. Apple Killer 2308, thanks for the 5. Whitebeard versus Garling for the scar he talks about. Also, side note, Big Mom's low-key pretty nice. Like, you see how she treats, like, Kaido literally looks up to her as, like, an older sister. He's literally like, and now you feel for Kaido when he was upset that Big Mom went down. You know, like, he kind of got really upset when Big Mom actually, like, was defeated. Yeah, it's just like you like, the dynamic feels so much more fleshed out. Because you remember, this was one thing I remember in Wano. So, like, Act 2, like, it's established that Kaido and Big Mom really hate each other. Big Mom's telling Kaido, I'm going to come to your territory, and Kaido's like, I'll kill you if you come here. Big Mom's going up the waterfall. Kaido's ordering her to be killed. And then finally they're fighting. It just adds so much context to their interactions at the end of Act 2. Like, when Kaido shows up, Big Mom already knows that Kaido's going to let her go and that they'll fight, right? And she already trusts that he'll do that and actually fight her. straight up. He's not going to treat her like this. And he does. And then I remember when they're fighting to the death, and then all of a sudden it cuts to them like drinking together and stuff and being like, we're going to be a team and we'll take down the world government, etc. And I remember when that happened, it felt kind of abrupt. And it was like, wait, isn't this like a huge shift? Oda just off screen, they're they're mortal enemies, we've been told. Like, they really want to kill each other and everything. How'd Oda spin it that, like, well, now they're down for an alliance? Like, that seems really weird. Why would they just do that? Now that we know their whole history, it just feels very organic, because it's kind of like, yeah, of course you can imagine at some point in that battle, they're, like, just, like, talking shit or whatever, and then slowly get back on each other. Like, they're like, yeah, let's just team up or whatever. You really get it. I want to reread their old interactions, because it adds a lot of perspective. Anyway, Apple Killer 2308, thanks for the 5. Whitebeard versus Garling for the scar he talks about to Shanks in their meeting. Shanks makes his scars ache. Yeah, I think that logically, narrative-wise, in terms of the power scaling and in terms of what's been hinted, Whitebeard versus Garling makes sense. And Shiki is a really good opponent for Rayleigh regardless. Like, we talked about that in streams, and the video I did. Like, Shiki versus Rayleigh does just, it follows. Feels like right in terms of strength and everything. Declan Murphy, thanks for the 2. If Rox dies, does Garling or Emu kill him? If Rox dies, does Garling or Emu kill him? I think Emu. If Rox dies, I think Emu kills him. JP, thanks for the 5. I would love Big Mom to trust Kaido with the Devil Fruit and Kaido dips, which fuels her abandonment issues and why we don't have chill Big Mom in modern day. I don't think Big Mom's main issue is like abandonment issues, because or even if it is to some degree, she already got that when she was a kid, when she felt like she was abandoned by Mother Carmel and all of the orphans' kids and everything like that. Like, Big Mom's issues, I don't think anything that happens here at God Valley would necessarily cause Big Mom's issues down the line, because like, she already had all those issues when she was a kid, and like, we saw her progression as a kid. Like, she was 10 years old, destroying cities and stuff, and yelling about how everybody has to obey her, she'll kill them all and everything. Like, she had those issues. If anything, I'm curious as to, like, what caused her to mellow out from teenage years to adult years, because it's like, I know fucking Streusen didn't, like, give her a good role model or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think that there's, I mean, maybe God Valley does, like, Kaido betraying Big Mom does seem like it could be in the works, right? Because, like, I remember Big Mom seemed pissed that Kaido was abandoning them or something. Would have to reread that part of the chapters again. But I don't think this necessarily sparks anything new in Big Mom. Maybe it, like, causes her to regress to old ways. Maybe that happens. Tiptio Treviso says it's the second time it causes her to relapse. Yeah, maybe. Said Abdo says, Morge, massive mistranslation about Gunkko. The Celestial Dragon said that she's still one of the Knight's hired hands, God's serving blade, meaning she's not a God's Knight yet here. Ah, interesting. Interesting. God's serving blade. So, but that implies that she's helping Emu, right? Like, serving Emu? Or is that a general term? PK Ziggy says, based on dialogue, it seems like Kaido either ran away or had to run away. Cadmos says, Morge, I hope the Gunkko storyline goes beyond the Elbaf arc. I think she has the potential to be a top 5 best written characters in One Piece. Yeah, whatever Oda's plan for her is, like, pretty insane. Like, it's pretty special. Is being Emu's puppet a job? Yeah, it seems like it. All right, everybody. I'm probably going to wrap stream in the next couple minutes, because I got to take dogs and stuff now. Yeah, if Rox gets Dami reversied, that might be what makes us see Garp and Roger fight him. A Dami reversied Rox would probably be the strongest character we've ever had, right? Until we get Dami reversied Herald or whatever. I guess Emu's still going to be stronger than Dami reversied Rox, but whatever. And just stream while taking out the dogs? Nah, that's a whole, its own whole thing. But this was a really fun chapter. I really loved this chapter. Really loved this chapter. This was a ton of fun. I'm just so disappointed that we got to wait 2 weeks now 2 weeks before the next chapter. Yeah, that's going to feel like a long time, but I'm excited. All right, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. This was a great chapter. One Piece is like as hype as it's literally ever been. And yeah, I'm looking forward to 1161. And with that, I will talk to you all later.